People come to me normally and ask, so I would ask you, how do I negotiate with the Chinese? Very hot question right now. And I say, which Chinese exactly do you want to talk to? Do you want to talk to the Chinese from Beijing or Shanghai? The one that came from the countryside and moved to a city, or the one who was born and raised in a city? A young one or an older one, right? The one who left to study abroad and came back, or one who always lived here? That it becomes really hard because they all have what? Different cultures beyond just being Chinese. That there is also educational culture, a race culture, a gender culture, a religious culture, right? And all of these will also impact the way people be, right? So that's the short answer.
Every negotiation.
Every negotiation. You're negotiating with your wife, with your husband, that's across culture. It's a different gender. And different genders see things differently, and they talk about things differently. You're talking to your kids. Many people come to me and say, how do I negotiate with my kids? Well, it's a different age. It's different. It's a different culture. They see the world. They like different kind of music. They like different kinds of food. They like to do different kind of things. That's as different a culture as it might get. And yet, they are your own blood. So you have to understand, how do they think differently because of that cultural distance? How do they behave differently? How do they think? How do they speak differently? So that I can what? I can find the right arguments to go into their mind and help them see the world as I see it. And in helping them do that, they'll probably be a little closer to seeing and agreeing to what I want them to see and agree. So for example, if we go into a place like in the Middle East, you would expect people to spend a fair amount of time talking about themselves and trying to understand one another, building more of a stronger relationship before they go into the substance of the deal itself, right? Maybe in the US or Scandinavia, people are going to jump further straight into the business. Just having a small introduction, maybe talk about the weather and things like that, and boom, go straight into it. So the rituals are different. Sometimes if you want to create a long-lasting relationship in Japan with a business partner, which will generate hopefully a lot of value for you in the future, you might need to spend sometimes a year before you can even start talking about business. Just really getting to know one another. This is extremely important. You spend 1 year trying to build a relationship with someone in the US, they're going to get tired of you. They're going to move on to someone who actually will start talking money faster. So again, the ritual is that, for example, in Japan, you don't say no directly in many instances. You have to find a more indirect way to let the other person know, understand that I don't.
Here, President Clinton leads Israeli and Palestinian leaders Ehud Barak and Yasser Arafat out before the press during peace negotiations. It's all smiles for the cameras. But behind a facade of bonhomie, there's a power struggle going on. Clinton jokingly explains that none of them will take any questions.
We pledged to each other we would answer no questions and offer no comments.
The body language then reviewed this apparently lighthearted tussle as a sign that Arafat and Barak were getting on well. Think again.
There is a great meaning behind who goes through the door first. Now, of course, you know, here in the West, letting someone through the door first doesn't really matter. It's polite, maybe. But in the Middle East, it has significant cultural impact.
This is a classic example, in an extreme way, of how the last man through the door is the winner. So Barak reaches for Yasser Arafat. Arafat literally grabs his arm, moves around, and starts waggling his finger at Barak, Barak then uses as an opportunity, like a wrestling match, to move round to actually be behind Arafat, and then literally grabs Arafat, holds him by the arm, and shoves him through the door bodily.